Welcome to the video. You're listening to Phil of Philby Gaming, and today we're delving into episode 2 of the inspirations behind some of the people we meet in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2. The characters of the game are very individual, and I found it interesting during my research for both this and the first video just to see where Rockstar Games obtain their ideas from, and I think you will too. If you enjoy today's content, be sure to hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share with friends and family, or anyone you may feel would enjoy videos such as this. And please be aware, there will be spoilers ahead for the game. With that being said, I hope you all enjoy, and let's get in to what we came here to see. The inspiration behind Part 2. At any point, after entering Chapter 4 of the title, if the player is to return to Rhodes, just on the outskirts of the town, they can find two escaped prisoners who are tussling with one another, Samson Black and Wendell White. After separating the fight, we learn that they have no money or food and can't enter Rhodes due to the bounty posters pinned up around the town. The player can choose to assist them, which leads to a further two interactions later. One where we provide them with medicine, and the other where we find them in much better conditions than when we first met them. The comical duo are heavily inspired by the 1958 Stanley Kramer motion picture, The Defiant Ones, which was also later remade in 1986 under the direction of David Lowell Rich. The plot tells the story of two prisoners, Noah Cullen and John Joker Jackson, portrayed respectively by Sidney Poitier and Tony Curtis. During a prisoner transport, the vehicle is forced to swerve from the road to avoid collision with an oncoming truck and finds itself at the bottom of a hill. Both Cullen and Jackson, who were chained together simply for the amusement of the warden due to the difference in their race, managed to escape the wreckage and go on the run. Despite their mutual hatred towards one another, the pair understand that in order to survive, they must work together, and eventually, over time, a bond of brotherhood is formed between the two, as they battle against the elements with the dogs at their heels and learn to look beyond their racial differences. The duo of Samson Black and Wendell White ends somewhat well, as the pair manage to evade the law and stick together. Unfortunately for Noel Cullen and his friend John Joker Jackson, things didn't turn out quite as splendid. For many years, the Dutch Vanderlyn gang have been rivaling with another, the O'Driscoll boys. The opposing foes can be encountered many times during our time with Arthur, with each one normally ending in violence. The gang is led by one Colm O'Driscoll, often mispronounced as Colm, a notorious outlaw whose gang operates across the Old West, performing train heists and bank robberies and such. During the era of the American frontier, specifically from the year of 1890 to 1892, there was a real-life group of outlaws that resemble the fictional O'Driscoll boys, the Dalton Gang. Even though there were around 9 members in total, the gang formed its name as if 4 of the members of this large posse were brothers: Mason, Grat, Bob, and Emmett. Before the formation of the gang, 3 of the brothers originally started in law enforcement, firstly working for the federal court at Fort Smith in Arkansas, and then later for the Osage Nation. To make a bit of extra cash, the brothers would turn to horse rustling. Realizing that it made significantly more money than the life of a lawman, they continued to pursue this outlaw lifestyle, thus forming the Dalton Gang. In February of 1891, 2 of the brothers held up a passenger train belonging to the Southern Pacific Railroad, concealing their identities. Following the heist, the pair fled and would take residence at the ranch of their older brother, Robert Bob Dalton. Around 1 year later, in 1892, Bob Dalton, with the intention of earning more notoriety than another infamous outlaw, Jesse James, planned with the rest of the gang to rob two separate banks, both in broad daylight. Separating the posse into two teams, each group would hit their respective targets in the city of Coffeyville, Kansas. News of the ongoing heists spread quickly throughout the town. Hardware stores began handing out weapons to civilians, who in turn would open fire on one of the banks. Two of the brothers, Grat and Bob Dalton, were killed during the escape, along with other members of the gang. Emmett Dalton, the youngest of the brothers, absorbed a total of 23 gunshot wounds, but somehow managed to survive. He was captured and later sentenced to life in prison. He served 14 years before being pardoned. In all honesty, I would love to go into more detail about the Dalton gang, but in the interest of time, we may have to save that for another video. One of the creepiest encounters the player can have is available as early as Chapter 2. Scarlet Meadows, in the region of Lemoyne, is the home to one very peculiar, incestuous brother-sister duo, Tammy and Bray Aberdeen. Bray, sat upon his porch, will invite the player inside with a friendly and welcoming manner about him. Accepting the man's invitation, the player will join Bray and Tammy for dinner, only to learn that the pair are serial killers, whose chosen victims are travellers in need of some rest. They bury the victims in a mass grave not far from their home. The Aberdeens are inspired by a real-life family of serial killers known as the Bloody Benders. The Benders were a family of four. The mother and father, John Sr. and Elvira, and brother and sister, John Jr. and Kate. All were thought to be from the European country of Germany. John Sr. was a man of very few words, and those that had met him described his speech as guttural and mostly unrecognisable. His wife Elvira spoke only a little English, and was described by her neighbours as a nasty and vindictive woman, labelling her as a she-devil. John Jr. was more friendly and had a strange demeanour about him. People would often witness him having outbursts of laughter. Kate Bender, the youngest of the family, was both educated and considered extremely attractive. She spoke English fluently and claimed to be both a healer and a psychic. She was also an advocate for free love, being open about her relationship with her brother. She gained notoriety for this. The Bender family would use this to their advantage. Opening up a small inn in Lebec County, Kansas in the early 1870s, the Benders used this as a front for their murderous activities. They had a small grocery store with lodgings in the rear. Over the course of the next couple of years, the remains of several people were discovered not too far from the Bender Inn. Eventually, sources would be tracked back to the Bender family, enticing travellers to come in and rest just as the Aberdeen family would. The Benders would sit their victims down for supper before committing the terrible crimes. Using code words given by John Sr., the family would sit their victims at a specific seat at the table, referring to it as the seat of honour. Directly behind this was a curtained area, to which the father would wait patiently behind. When ready, he would strike through the curtain at the unsuspecting innocent, causing death by blunt force trauma. Below this seat was a trapdoor leading to the cellar of the inn. This is where they would strip the victims of their belongings before disposing of the remains. Testimonies from survivors would go on to claim that if they refused to sit at that particular chair, the family would become enraged and attempt to physically attack them head-on. As the authorities drew closer in on the family, the Benders would flee, later taking on new identities. John Sr. was arrested for murder in Montana, 1884. He severed off his own ankle to escape his chains, but soon died due to blood loss. John Jr. is believed to have passed due to a rupture of his internal organs somewhere near the border region between Texas and New Mexico. Elvira and her daughter Kate had fled together and were later arrested in October of 1889 in Niles, Detroit. Although the pair claimed other identities, they were found guilty of the Bender family murders. Although it seems that all 4 suspects were now dealt with, many believe the ones who were arrested were in fact not members of the Bender family, and that they remained at large for many years to come. You've been listening to Phil, and that was the inspiration behind part 2. If you enjoyed today's video and wish to see more like it, be sure to hit like, subscribe, share with anyone you may feel would enjoy it too, and let me know if you wish to see me cover a specific character. You can also find me over on Instagram if you wish, that's at PhilBGaming. If you would like to support the channel, I do have a Patreon page set up. Any and all Patreons will be truly gratified. Thank you to everyone for watching today, and I'll see you in the next one.